All right, so this first story comes from Huffington Post. Geraldo Rivera slaps Trump supporters with a reality check after Biden's pardon. Most dads, including this one, would do what Joe Biden did. Blood is thicker than water. He was willing to tarnish his honor and reputation to save his child, who he believed was being shafted. Too bad, but it's not like he appointed him ambassador to France.
That's Geraldo Rivera's quote. What do you think about this? I'm of two minds, and I mentioned this on another show that I do. I'm of two minds. There's a part of me that very much understands why he would do something like this, and part of me that sort of agrees in some ways because they have made it a big sort of campaign promise to go after Hunter Biden after they were elected. He's preventing that from continuing, and he's preventing his son from staying in the public light after he's no longer president. I'm talking about President Biden. But, you know, there's a part of me that's like, he did something wrong. He should have to do something for it. I understand that there was political motivation. They had a plea deal in place. They rejected the plea deal to go to the trial, and they got more time than most people would normally get in that. I understand that. But there's a part of me that's like, hey, man, I don't know how to get all this back in the box now. I understood before when there's this sort of idea that, you know, there's a moral high ground, there's a, you know, a justice sort of high ground where you can point to and be like, you can't do that, that's wrong. And I did see President Trump utilize and abuse the pardon power while he was in office before, but do two wrongs make a right here? And I'm of two minds. There's part of me that understands it completely and kind of agrees with it. And then there's another part of me that's like, man, are we really opening up a box here? Can we now criticize this government if they do this sort of stuff in the future?
Well, I think I was of two minds of this also, but I feel like I've kind of resolved my feelings on this. So, you know, from everything that I've read and everything that I've listened to on this, I feel like it's pretty universally agreed, not only that under normal circumstances, Hunter Biden would not have gotten prison time.
Yeah, gotten prison time.
He would not have even been prosecuted. Under normal circumstances, no prosecutor would have even brought the case. It's a wildly unusual prosecution. Then it's a fantastically unusual rejection of the plea deal. So I feel like the justice system is already being weaponized unfairly against an individual citizen who, that's unreasonable. That is just genuinely, that's just unreasonable. I also feel like when you come out ahead of time and say, and I'm going to keep hurting you, I know I hurt you. I know that the thing we did is outside the normal course of sort of prosecutorial ethics and like the prosecutorial process. And even we're willing to accept that. But you know what? I'm going to keep hurting you after that. I feel like at some point you've got to say, all right, we're not like, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not letting you do that to anybody, like not my kid and not like anybody else. And as far as like criticizing, dude, I felt the same way, but I'm like, I don't know that it does any good for us to criticize from the high ground. I'm not sure that's gotten us anywhere.
I don't know that it's gotten us anywhere either, but now you're definitely seeding it.
I think we're saying we're on a level playing field now because we weren't on a level playing field before.
But are we cool with broken government then?
Well, I don't know that this breaks the government. I don't know, because you have to accept too, if you accept that the rule of law matters, then you have to say that the pardoning system is part of that same rule of law. It's part of the same system of rules. And everybody gets to use it at their discretion. And when Trump used it to pardon Roger Stone and Paul Manafort and weirdly Rod Blagojevich, like he didn't break the law. He was within his rights to do it. Everybody said he was within his rights to do it. So if we're looking at a rules system, everybody here followed the rules.
Sure.
So like you kind of have to then say, okay, outside the rules system, where does my outrage stem?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't stem from the rules system.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I think that's a fair system. I heard a take on this that I thought was a really interesting take. And what it said was Joe Biden released a statement. So Joe Biden releases this statement. And this is actually a take from another podcast I did. The podcast host suggested as Craig. this guy I do a podcast with, they had this whole statement about Joe Biden said that it was the system was against my son. It was weaponizing the justice system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He said that using that language gives Trump some sort of foothold now to say that the Justice Department can be weaponized, right? So instead of saying nothing, instead of just doing it because he loves his son and saying, I love my son and I don't want to see him hurt anymore, that is why I pardoned him. That is a much better explanation than saying, I weaponize, the Justice Department is weaponized, because in some ways you're giving Trump more ammunition for the gun he's been firing at us for years. If he were to just say, I did it because I loved him and I love him and I don't want to see him hurt. And I want to make sure he's my son and I love him and I'm stepping down and I feel like he has endured enough. That's plenty of a statement. There's no other, like you said, you're not breaking any rules. It's literally within your power to do it. So who cares what the reason is? But instead, to elucidate the reason as it's a weaponized Justice Department really does open something up here that I think is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I think I would agree in a normal world. And I really mean this. Where I think I struggle with that is that I don't think Trump was ever not going to I don't think Trump needs any other sort of outside articulation.
I'm not saying Trump, I'm saying us. How do we now combat Trump, who says that it's a weaponized? If Trump says it's a weaponized Justice Department, we say nuh-uh. He's like, yeah, but Joe Biden said it was.
Oh, I see what I misunderstood. Yeah. I misunderstood.
So I mean, like at this point, I mean, I don't care what Trump does, but Trump is going to use this, and now we can't use that as a way to now say anything about the things that we can't dispute the things he's going to say because we've kind of admitted that they're true.
Yeah, I don't know that I think that we could say, well, this is the problem of complicated things being more complicated truths being more difficult than simple truths. And that's what's tough. The reality is that, like, sometimes the justice system has been weaponized. We do have to acknowledge that. It has not been weaponized in its dogged pursuit of justice when it's come after Trump. It's actually been wildly cautious, which is why it took so long and why it didn't come to fruition in time.
Right.
But this is the problem of true things being complicated and simple things being a better narrative. I think to some degree, we have to really kind of I really am coming to believe that we on the left have to take our old playbook, put it in the shredder and shred it, then take the shreds and light them on fire, then take those ashes and blow them into the wind, and then forget we ever had that playbook. Because it doesn't work against Trump and Trumpian politics. And I think that what Trump has done by winning the second time is he's shown the world that this works and this is replicable. And we have shown the world we don't have an answer for it. And so if I'm on the other side, what I'm doing now is I'm paying a lot of attention to the reality of politics as game theory. And I'm saying this version of playing the game works. I'm never going to play another game. Things are never going to return back to a civil normal, because civil normal, I don't think, has shown itself to be as effective. We have to embrace the unfortunate reality that what we've been shown is a playbook that works. And we have to find a new playbook that works against that one. And that answer is not being right. We tried being right. Being right isn't enough. We have to do something different now. We have to be right in a different way. We have to be right in ways that are simpler, more direct, more offensive, less defensive, never defensive. I think we've got to completely reinvent the way we're playing this chess. We're playing it badly. We lost twice. We won once out of the last 3 times we played. I think that was an anomaly. We lost twice. And we've shown the world now can see a strategy that works. And we don't have a counter defense for it. So coming back and saying like, well, yeah, but the high ground and we were right. Like all that stuff is good in a world where people cared about what was right and wrong. But we don't live in that world anymore. I really don't believe we live in that world.